contracts. For effective delivery of the MSDG project, in 2019, GK Partners was registered in the Gambia in the name of GK Partners Global Limited. It is also registered with the Gambia Revenue Authority and Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation. GK Partners as a social enterprise generates income, commercial contracts, technical assistance, and service level assignments, and program grants. In turn, it provides pro bono support, in-kind technical expertise, and project co-finance to a range of public and community benefit programs undertaken by civil society, public sector, international development, social enterprise, and academic organizations and institutions. GK Partners is a signatory to the 2006 10 Principles of the United Nations Global Compact for Responsible Business of the UNGC network in the UK. GK Partners is a member of CPD Certification Service. Thank you.
Just to add on it, GK Partners was set up in 2004 as a social enterprise. Amongst its work was economic and socio-economic development in different parts of the world. One of the major difficulties we had was that during that time, there were major human rights abuses and undemocratic government dedicated to the Gambia, meaning that it was very difficult to have structured engagement with the Gambia. So we found ourselves doing work everywhere in Africa and Eastern Europe except Ghana. Of course, along those lines, every Gambian who was in the diaspora was also traumatized and ashamed by the dictatorship we had. And efforts and money and resources were spent to support the democratic forces. I have here, next to me, here, James Barrow, who, for me, I think I remember that James was the first who told me very early in 1994 that the coup d'etat we had will be a disaster and that we shouldn't just, because we perhaps were not supportive of the previous government, that we should really be careful with this solution. And having then taken him seriously, I in fact drafted the first anti motion in the House of Commons against the dictatorship. So you can see that many of us were spending almost, you would say, negative energy. All our resources was on fighting something, not building something. So when change happened, it was like a joy, an opportunity to focus on the positive. And that's why, at the earliest opportunity, we set up the MSDG project. So yes, it was very early, it was 2017. And I think I arrived in Gambia on the 9th of February 2017, and the work has not stopped since then. And we're pleased that James and other colleagues have been as part of the journey supporting. So amongst what we're doing, many people do say that it's certainly innovative, whether it's unique, there's a debate, perhaps there are other cases. But as a diaspora-led organization, it's a technical cooperation program, meaning fully supporting public institutions and the government. So the agreement with the office of the president, just as you would say GIZ from the German government or Belgium, having support to these public institutions, that's the sort of thing. And that is very important for diaspora-led technical assistance. Because however you look at it, the diaspora are in many measures by far the biggest contributors of development in countries of origin than those international bodies you hear about, both in terms of cash they bring and in terms of intellectual investment and socio-economic investment. So even if there's a debate as to who contributes more, the point is they are major contributors and so need the institutional structures to allow them to operate like that. So we are grateful to the government of the Gambia in that they took the opportunity straight away and agreed to be part of the export cooperation program. And up to now, only very few countries can do that. Part of the reason we're doing this briefing is we have our strengths and we have our weaknesses. Partners, our fellows, everybody tell us that we need to invest more time and ourselves in telling the story and discussing with people, because inevitably it's a good thing for the project. People know how to help us and how we operate. So we are grateful to the media for being here, and we would be counting on you to assist us even more. In the second part of this discussion, we would be talking specifically about our wonderful diaspora fellows. And we have a new cohort of them. So we are appealing to the media that in the coming weeks, we would want you to profile each one of them. So in total, we have 54 fellows. Now we've got 11 new. So those 11 new in particular, we would be interested in you profiling them. But that's the second part of the discussion on that fellowship. Coming back to the MSDG project, what we've done here, there's been now 7-8 years of practical action, and there are many countries that have now looked at it and said, we're interested, and we're having discussions of taking it to other countries. Elements of it, like the Diaspora Development Fund, we would be piloting that in Senegal. That is why some of you who be following it would notice a slight bit of attempt of rebranding. Of course, we talk about the MSDG project, but our new fellows, we're just referring to them as the MSD fellows. So the program is Migration and Sustainable Development. This is Gambia, but in time it will be Senegal, Liberia, and all this. And then for the fellows having a Migration and Sustainable Development fellowship, sort of recognizing that their action is beyond just Gambia, it's more global. We have given you hopefully 2 bits of literature, or maybe 3. One is this folding 4-pager, which has a summary of all of the major activities we undertook, and it actually summarizes some of the practical. By June of 2024, we counted that we had over 200 interventions, mini projects. So, and they're divided, some of them are the diaspora fellows, about 7 of them. The others are the activities that GK partners and MSDG undertake. But even amongst the media who know what we do, perhaps the only thing they would know is the annual stake in the nation. But yes, that's a flagship event. But we also do, the way we undertake technical assistance, we have a framework with the government called Technical Roundtable. Just yesterday, we did the 19th edition of that. So these are topics that we discuss, areas for improvement or development, that we discuss with government and international partners in a closed door setting where everyone is open and frank. It's a technical level and practical decisions are taken. And this has covered, yesterday it was on migration data. Previously we've done work, the first set was on remittance data collection and analysis with Central Bank of the Gambia. That was the first one. I think it was in January of 2018. And that is what led to effectively Central Bank of the Gambia being number 1 in the world in accumulating and publishing data on remittances. So if you take remittances, the global authority on who holds the data is World Bank, and they tend to publish it end of May every year. In fact, this year there's a bit of a delay. So people have to wait till the middle of the year to know for sure from the World Bank what the data on remittances of the previous year was. In Gambia, Central Bank of the Gambia, they publish earlier. When do you think they publish? They publish in January. So in this year, they publish it on the day of the Stake in the Nation Forum. And for 2026, it was on the 10th of January, wasn't it? So as soon as we're in the new year, the Gambia knows the number and publishes it. Isn't that wonderful? So that's an example of the technical work. Since then, we've worked on capital markets, on innovative finance, on fisheries, and different on rural development. So that's an important part of the work behind the scenes. So as I said in this document, there's a summary of the different themes that we work on and some of the outputs that we have achieved. I am more excited about the fellowship one. So I think I would pause here, but before we invite specific questions to the media, by the way, the media, you can ask us for clarification of specific questions about the MSDG project and GK partners. That would then be the end of the first phase, then we move on the Diaspora Development Fund and the fellowship. But before, and for that person, we have some of our existing diaspora fellows and some of our existing partners. They're here, and we are pleased that they're happy to say a few words about their experience, both as fellows and as partners. And that's important not by itself alone, but it's important because we have a new bunch of fellows, these 11, some of whom are also in the room. So some who may want to speak, you'll invite them to speak about what they intend to do, but they will have opportunity to learn from the existing fellows as well. So at this stage, I would invite my good friend, James Brown, to give us a few words around the MSDG project, its evolution, or your thoughts about what's the most important part of it, or not.
Sis.
Good afternoon.
No, don't go. Straight. No,
No, let us
yeah. System this way.
This way.
Yeah.
Oh. Sorry.
Yeah, can you please push the mics? Hello, Uncle? Uncle?
Please
Max. Oh, yeah, good. No, let's take it over now.
Good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum. My name is James Bahu. Professor Gabriel Fan has given you a brief introduction about my role in the MSDG project. I am in Bahum, like I said, and I am happy to look around here and see young faces of people who believe, I suspect, on the MSDG project, migration. I would want to just give a brief history about my engagement with people in this main so far who really pivoted into arts and culture. But that is a derivative from the Gambia Student or the Youth Association. Apart from that, we were hands-on on what is euphemistically called the struggle. The struggle was a campaign against dictatorship by diasporans. And we formed what was called the MRDG, Movement for the Restoration of Democracy in the Gambia. And we did most of what I can only call the heavy lifting. Because at the time there was a lot of skepticism about people who opposed the dictatorship, because it was believed that it paid to change the system for the better. It then transpired that that was not the case. Indeed, what happened in my view is we jumped from the frying pan into the fire. And that fire burned for 22 years. Some of us, particularly myself, were exiled for 22 years. They come back home, threatened with death, disruption and everything else. And I decided to stay behind because I also believe that the work I was doing in sensitizing not only Gambians in the diaspora, but international organizations, both bilateral, multilateral organizations who had a vested interest in Gambia, that we would petition foreign diplomats, we will petition the national or the House of Commons and MPs, we would petition foreign ambassadors and so many other important bodies to inform them about the gross human rights violations that were taking place in Gambia under the dictatorship. So one very important event took place, which was the killing of young students in April 10th and 11th. And that, for me, was what I consider to be the single most important catalyst for Gambians to wake up and know that the dictatorship was getting out of hand. And that is to put it mildly. A lot of Gambians then mobilized and saw for themselves what destruction the dictatorship was doing and continued to do. That is April 10th and 11th massacre of students who were peacefully demonstrating the killing of their fellow students ended up being shot in broad daylight. 14 young students died in the streets. We thought, this is enough. Enough is enough. Now, in my own thinking, our organizations at the time, MRDD and US, and other organizations that were campaigning against the dictatorship, were not properly structured. It was just coming together, writing petitions, protesting in the streets of London and Europe and America. But we needed to put a meat around that skeleton. And the first thing that came to my mind was, oh, I have a friend. Why am I going to call him to come help us? And I turned to Professor Fall. I said to him, we all have a responsibility to protect. And that responsibility falls on all of us. And I am going to kindly ask you to come in and support us in putting a structure around what was makeshift organizations with very little or no structure. And he gladly did. I was expecting him to say, oh, I'm very busy, because I know he's a very busy man. You know, he spends more time flying than sitting down. He doesn't care to have a time. But he welcomed us. And he said, yeah, why not? And he's right. The first thing he did, and he's only just mentioned one event that, you know, it was the early day motion at the Parliament. But he had gone ahead when the first election after the was I think in 1996. That was the referendum, 96. And discussion around coalition building was first mentioned. And Professor Fall did what most Gambian intellectuals couldn't do, or were not willing to do. He sat down with us, took notes, listened to what we had to say, and he went back home. A week later, we had a meeting at my friend's place, Lay Giovanni, and he presented two very important documents. One, in relation to the formation of an alliance or a coalition at the time, is called the Strategic Partnership, and the other one was the Tactical Alliance. These two seminal documents were the guiding principles of what we did after Professor Fall's intervention. We used those documents extensively. The chaps in America would call me and say, bro, money, can't paper you again, we want to set this up. And it was the beginning of the structural campaign that followed, the creation of other campaign organizations. CODEC, for instance, which was a coming together of Gambians across the world, to form CODEC, which was a campaigning organization, including people like Professor Ablai Sen, Bakamane, all these usual suspects who were always on the media.
This process.
We just want to take all questions at once, so we just note and then read the answer later. So any.
Thank you. I'd just like to, first of all, thank the professor and one of the original founders, James, of the organization, for the works that they've been doing over the decades in trying to mobilize the diaspora abroad and to put little Gambia on the big world map. And we've been looking at the summary of all the projects and initiatives, and there has been a huge amount, obviously, of work and effort that's gone into building the works of this organisation and obviously the credibility of it to get it where it is today. So we're here representing the diaspora, but a segment of the diaspora, I suppose, that often gets overlooked, and you know, the descendants of those who were taken away and have voluntarily decided to return to the Gambia to make Gambia our home as well. And it's a growing number of that segment of society that comes with a whole range of skills and love and a desire to want to contribute towards the Gambia and the people and the development of the country. Obviously, we're coming from a place where, you know, we have, all of us, participated in the various sectors within the organisations and the institutions that we've come from. The countries mainly being the UK, America, Canada, and the Caribbean. And these are, you know, countries obviously that have had the opportunity to develop at a far quicker pace over time than Native Gambia has had. And just to let the organisation know that we're here, willing to help and contribute so that Gambia can catch up, you know, with the global world out there. We have among us, you know, people with engineering skills, technical skills, educational skills, communication skills, charities, and a real desire to see the Gambia at a faster pace, which would create jobs and opportunities, obviously, for the young people in particular, which we see as really, really important here, in a growing youth population. And, you know, we're all aware of the back way seeming to be, you know, at the forefront of the minds of too many young people. It's about reaching those young people, supporting small charities, organisations and initiatives on the ground that's willing to do that help. In terms of inward investment, it would be good also if maybe the MSDG was to look at capturing the contribution that we actually make in terms of the development that we are also bringing to the country in terms of building, remittances, inward investment. There's you know, hundreds of us who have reached retirement age and are now bringing our retirement funds, bringing all of our decades of hard work over the years from the UK and America here into the Gambia to help build the Gambia that needs to be captured in a strategic and comprehensive way so that we can contribute towards your data capture and work in partnership with you. What would you say about that? Thank you.
We have. My name is Yafa today from QTV. My question is, what are your focuses as the implementers of the Diaspora Development Fund? What areas are you guys focusing on implementing this project? Any other?
Yes, sure. Thank you very much. I am Esama. When we talk about migration these days, because both that went to the root and the so does your work involve those that went to abroad through the irregular migration, irregular route? Because we've seen they also contribute to the country's economy. Thank you.
Any other question? Any question?
Okay, thank you very much for those questions. So, the first one is about diaspora voting. So, the work we've done up to 2004 was under 5 headings. One was institutionalization of diaspora contribution. Second was remittances, investment, jobs, and financial inclusion. Third was knowledge, training, and capacity development. And fourth was diaspora voting, representation, and participation in policy processes. And if you look at the quantum of work in terms of money and effort, that section would be about 15% of what work we've done. Among the things that we've done was heavy-duty engagement with all of the stakeholders, including parliamentarians, reviews and analysis of what is now the Election Act 2025, every part of its contribution towards it. And maybe you, for the media, the most visible thing that you have as to our contribution in this is National Assembly TV. 4 or 5 years ago, almost every day, all of you would go to Parliament to cover it. Now, National Assembly have its own TV, and they send you the clean feed, those of you who want to get it, and you put your own branding on that. So that's one of the MSDG projects. And that was led by a diaspora fellow, Maron, from Norway. And it meant, so we have the TV, meaning every part of Parliament, National Assembly is covered. Every process is recorded and covered. And now the National Assembly have invested so that that recording can easily be transcribed for the record, for the Hansard record. So we're still working with them, but they're investing in it. By itself, the whole process has had a major positive impact in engaging the diaspora more in the policy process of Gambian democracy and governance. One of the capabilities of this technology at the National Assembly is, in fact, a remote participation in parliamentary affairs. It's not been activated, but that capability exists. Because of course, what we thought was not only that the diaspora, because what the Constitution allows us is not only that the diaspora would vote, but also would have seats in Parliament, diaspora members of Parliament. I had the good fortune to do the technical work for Senegal. When was it 2017 when they did their referendum? And the referendum allowed for diaspora members of Parliament to be elected. So of their 165 seats, thereabouts, 15 of the seats, 1/5 of the seats, in the National Assembly of Senegal are Senegalese members of parliament who represent different regions of the world. So they're elected in the diaspora, they remain in the diaspora as representatives. So I had the good fortune to do the technical work on how do you translate that constitutional change to practicality. We convened a major meeting of the Senegalese diaspora government in Barcelona. And a good part of that session was conducted in Wolof, because there were language barriers. My French is terrible, and they had very basic English. Some were speaking Catalonian and Catalan. And so we said, well, we'll speak in Wolof. And that's what happened. By the way, in the parliament in Senegal, you can speak in different languages and interpretation. So you can see with Gambia, the bottom line is within that whole heading of representation, vote, and policy participation, the one that will say, yes, we've achieved it, is the policy participation. But we don't have diaspora voting, we don't have representation. And the barriers that were there has not been changed. Like that if you have dual citizenship, you cannot be in the National Assembly. That part of the Constitution has been changed. But all of the political parties, not only do they receive funds from the diaspora, but they have members of the diaspora in their executive. So there's that influence. So the law that was passed last year, yes, Parliament rejected it. They rejected the bill that would make it easy. So if you are to say who's responsible, legally it's two institutions, IEC and the National Assembly. IEC is the one that does voting, and they say they're waiting for clarification from National Assembly. And National Assembly, particular clause, it didn't pass, so that's where it is. But we take it within the context. I told you that that part of our work is 15%, and that part is in 3 parts. 5% of that 15% is done, so 10% hasn't happened. But the work of development, I tend to say, is the work of failure. Anybody who works in development is working in failure. Because if things were right, we wouldn't be doing it, because they're not right. So the work goes on without no undue excitement. Because remember, we're talking of the it took a long while. Sort of the world. In the old days, they would say, "Aluta continua." Then the question on, I'm very pleased that we have now, it's difficult to even say the transatlantic diaspora, because maybe you're coming from the UK, there's been so many movements. But our view about the diaspora is a holistic one. And also I had the privilege to be involved in this too, because I was involved with the structuring of the leading diaspora development charity in the UK called Afford, the Foundation for Development. And I was chair for 15 years. And in the late 90s and early 20s, amongst other things, was to conceptualize the diaspora and their role in development. Because guess what? It was not understood or accepted that the diaspora contributed significantly to that development, except for few cases around the world. And I had the pleasure to come up with a concept which I call the linkage between diaspora and memory. I theorize that the nature of the memory determines the level of engagement and development. And if my theory is right, then where the memory is weak, you can do something to increase it, to increase development. And of course, some of the categorization was the easiest one is the natal memory. I was born in Gambia, so I was born here, I have a natal memory. Then there's those who have parental memory. They were born abroad, their parents. Then you go further to ancestral memory. Then you have the transatlantic memory, diaspora. And that is not only United States of Caribbean. The biggest population of Africans outside of Africa is Brazil. So, in fact, when the United Nations, when the African Union did their definition of the African diaspora, and they declared the diaspora would be the 6th region, that was approved in 2004-5, and the first major meeting that was held to talk about it was in Salvador de Bahia, wonderful conference called the Conference of Intellectuals, African Intellectuals in the Diaspora. For some reason, they included me there. But it was remarkable. I had some doubts as to the applicability of the Union definition. Because I said to the African Union, you say I am now the sixth region, but you have no governance power over me. If you are in East, North, West, South, and Central Africa, there is connection. So how does it work? It's politically good, it's inclusive. So that's how the idea that each country should then declare their diaspora a region came. And this was in 2006. Two people I remember discussing it was Dr. Ibrahim Sam, who is now the president of South African Senegal, and the former foreign minister of Senegal, who at the time was the UN special rep for the Great Lakes, Professor Ibrahim Fall. And Professor Ibrahim Fall is still around, hopefully he would see this, and said he would assist, because Senegal came with Abdoulaye Wade as president. He came with a plain load of Senegal, the whole thing. And to demonstrate the point, because they flew from Senegal to Salvador de Bahia, they just went this way. But where are we in? If I'm sitting in here, I just go this way. You go straight this way. You don't have to go west, north. You don't have to go to Europe. So they just flew. So that was one of them. But long story short, Senegal accepted. And Senegal declared their diaspora. They were forced to declare their diaspora. It's in the 14th or 15th region. And that's why in Gambia, when we came, we got the Gambia government to declare its diaspora the 8th region. So that's as a method of work. Now, if you go back, when you go back to this memory, all human beings are Africans. So by the time you go to anthropological memory, you are talking of the Africans in Asia, the cities in Pakistan and in the black African populations in Melanesia, places like Solomon Islands and Kiribati Islands. Melanesia, that's from the word melanin, black. Almost every place you hear Guinea or Sudan, all of these are different languages describing black people. It's all African, but their memory is distant. That's anthropological. And by the time you go to all humanity, the memory is genetic, only simply because every race of this world originally comes from Africa. So this is the approach we take. So every government, and even for those with parental memory, you need effort. Otherwise, they will forget. So you need to do that. And we are particularly grateful for this new sort of trend we found in the past 10, 15 years of people of Afro-Caribbean origin who were born and brought up in the UK who have now chosen Gambia. And the documentary evidence is overwhelming in terms of their positive contribution to development. And that's why when there's been sad cases here and there with Ado, really the whole country mourns and is serious about stopping it. And yes, this is an opportunity to acknowledge that contribution. And yes, the struggle is, we're struggling for diaspora vote. We know you want Gambian citizenship. We support you. So Ghana is now doing it, whereby the ancestral diaspora, there's a route to citizenship, as it were. So thank you so much. There was another couple of questions. One was irregular migration. And the last one on the DDF, I'll pause on that because we go to the next section on it, yeah? But irregular migration, yes, all irregular migrants are part of the diaspora. And it is true. What little they have, they use it to contribute. So our focus is the linkage between migration, diaspora, and development. But then we also support the government and institutions because they also have some more immediate interest. For example, that is missing or distressed migrants. So like the technical roundtable we did yesterday was on data relating to irregular pathways and regular pathways. And the more you understand technically what's happening and where things are happening, it's better. The new fellows that were appointed, the 11 I mentioned, people saw it. It still show it. So you've got the picture of the 55. And I also see Musa Rame was the last on the list. It's DDF 54, sorry, on that list, on that form. So they had their projects, and so we have publication. We printed something as well, a 3-pager that gives you the headings of the project. Each one of them, we don't even know. We're not up to date on the impact. We've got Henriette here. Many of you would know Henriette these days as MRC Holland. She's the one that builds schools all over the country, and she's the honorary consul of the Kingdom of Netherlands here. Our partnership with her is truly big. It started with the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, because through one of our diaspora fellows, I think it's fellow number 53, Dunstina Sawyer, some of the schools and centers she built, we then bring the science lab in it. We do the equipment. So it's a very diverse range of activities. So that's the 54. We're very pleased that in the past 6 months, International Organization for Migration, IOM, also partnered with us and provided funding for another round. Also, it's not very big. We only have 15 projects, but we already had a big pipeline of projects. People who applied, we'd assess them, and we didn't have money. So again, there was no need for a call for proposal because we had a pipeline. But we still were able to engage with partners so that it's not just people we know, to also bring others. You will see that we try our best to get diversity of countries so that it's not just US and UK. So we get diversity of countries, we get diversity of gender, and we get diversity of age. But inevitably, the biggest age group would be the 30s to 50s. Inevitably, that would be it. Yeah, because that's the group that people in their prime of their life, and actually, it's men in their 40s who hold more money in the world than anyone else. So grab one of them. Yeah. So, this is where we are. So part of this briefing is also to talk a bit more about the fellows, the existing one, and the new one. So Claire, I don't know how you want to take it, whether to get any clarification question now or to invite straight away some of the fellows and partners.
We welcome the questions later.
Okay, so then you will pick on some of the fellows and partners as we see them, just to hear few words as to their experience and what they would say to the new fellows as well. Henriette, I'll start with you. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
No, yeah. So those of you fellows and partners will be calling. You will do the walk up to here, and so that the cameras don't move. Yeah. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
I want to start with introducing myself as a migrant. From a migrant family over the centuries. My migrant background is from 3 different continents. And over the past 300 years, people migrated for all kinds of reasons and ended up in South Africa. And that's where I was born. So I have background from Asia, from Africa, and from Europe. When I was small, my father was also offered a job in the Netherlands, which we did not have any direct family relationship with. And he thought he would go there for maybe 5 years and then see again. But we ended up staying. And I did all my schooling in the Netherlands. And when I finished my master's degree, I wanted to move back to Africa. and it happened to be Gambia, where I ended up in 1991. So since 1991, we were an immigrant in Gambia, and it happened that I settled here, and now I'm a Gambian. And when it comes to migration, I always try to think out of the box, because the world is creating too many boxes when you talk about migration. But nobody can manage without each other. We see in Europe, people try to restrict borders. We've heard what happened in South Africa recently, where the population is very aggressive towards immigrants. And I think the whole world has to reconceptualize migration. Anyway, I ended up in the Gambia. I have all my work history in the Gambia, and Gambia has formed me to where I am now. And I'm glad that I can contribute through the Holland Foundation, which we got the sponsorship from the Netherlands, the MRC Holland Foundation. And we've been building schools, and that's the main thing you know me of at the moment. But in our school building program, wherever we start schools, we talk about ownership, and we talk about partnerships, and we really value the partnerships with the ex-pupils of the school, the diasporans within Gambia, because so many communities have a whole diaspora in Banjul. And the people in Banjul who are from the village can also support their community. And we talk about the diaspora, those who actually migrated and all over the world, and who can also support. So you have a whole lot of levels of diaspora. And we discuss with the communities the importance of working together for the sustainability. Because the Ministry of Education can only do so much. They can provide you with a teacher, with the chalk, and with the backup support to make a school a school. But if the community doesn't support the school, they are nowhere. Now we have some very good examples of diaspora engagement. I can say the first was Burong in Kiang West, where we linked with the children who moved out of Burong and searched for school in the Combos. And together we built the school. It was one of the diasporans actually who built the school. And when the school was ready, so many parents moved back to Burong and brought their children back who were staying with relatives or guardians in town, brought them back to stay with them in the village. And that was a very beautiful example of the local diaspora. Two recent examples is also the Khartoum diaspora. They approached me and said they want to support, but what they can do is not enough. So we ended up partnering. We are building at the moment, I think, 18 classrooms for the senior secondary school. And we are also going to build for the low basic and do some renovations. Where the diaspora of Khartoum also collected $1 million to invest in their school. And for us, it's a one-off, but we also encourage them, let them continue. Because if you want the best for your community, continue supporting your school. Another example is Nyani Suputa. The Honorable Minister told me when she was at school, she was going to close the school because there was nothing. And it was a senior secondary school next to Barajali. The lower basic and the upper basic is in Barajali, and they wanted Sukuta diaspora said they wanted a school, so they started a senior secondary school. And the diaspora came in and they built 2 classrooms. So when I reached there last month, I found a school, a whole senior secondary school with 2 classrooms. So again, I said we can involve in building the school, but it's important to acknowledge what the diaspora has done, because they are great partners. It's very important what they have done, and they may continue. We will just build another 8 classrooms and teacher quarters and whatever is needed, and then we move out. But the diaspora, they will continue. So again, they are very important. And of course, we work together with the MSDG project with the science laboratories, which we made a good start. We all know science education is limited in Gambia, and more of it is required. We built one regional laboratory, which was then equipped by the Rotary Club of Dusubi. That one is built in Kaur, and it was a great success. All the schools in CRR North converged there for their science practicals. And we are envisaging that every rural region will have a very well-equipped and well-staffed science laboratory. Now there's one in Basse already at the college, and together with MSDG, we signed a community agreement for Sibanor. This was last year. The laboratory has been built, and the equipment is being purchased. Very soon it will be there. So hopefully before school opening, the Fonyis will have their own well-equipped and well-staffed science lab. The setting it up is a success story. Pure science students coming from the Fonyis. We hope to continue. We are just ready to sign an agreement to make a science lab in Mansaponko for the lower river region. And if that is done, hopefully by next year, they will also have one. And we can move on to the next and the next.
Thank you.
So we hope that the engagement will continue once we conquer all the rural regions. Education is key for the diaspora. And education is also key if you talk about migration. Those boys and girls of 15-year-old taking the back way, what are they going to do? They are going to suffer. But if you have people and they are professionals, either academically professional or they have a skill, you can travel to those areas where they lack skills. And there's plenty job opportunities. And I'm sure, as much as Europe is being difficult about migration, in the next 10 years, they will be seeking for qualified technical people. So let's educate our children and let's encourage them to stay and be educated and have skills before they think of migration. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Claire, you can move here. Maybe we just go this way. And Bemba, if you can say a few. Oh, okay. Claire, I'll sit here. Claire, can you help me? I'm gonna. Yeah. Bemba, you can come here. Okay. And then we'll come to this three of you. Okay.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Melba Jadi, originally from Seppak in Woodley. I've been living in Ireland for the past 22 years. And I see myself as a returnee in the last 2 years in Gambia, working in international development. I have been a recipient of the MSDG program before, and as Jibril mentioned, in fact, that was a very interesting one because I work with women's group in Kafuta with the Department of Community Development to set up a group. And also, this group, they had no vegetable garden at the time, but we were able to support them to develop growing vegetables. But not only that, but also they were able to process these vegetables, especially the tomato paste, and also some preservations as well, like jams and other things, which was very successful. So this year, my role will be more on capacity development, training, mentoring rural youth and the women CAFOs, but also developing, supporting social enterprise to start planning for wholesale supply in the area of dried food and social enterprise plans for communities as for groups. Um, so the diaspora engagement is very important. I know a lot of people have talked about it. I'm not going deep into that, but one thing that I would like to mention, the MS exemplary in the whole world because there is no more things happening in different countries, especially in Africa. And I think we are so grateful as a citizen of the Gambia, but also a well-renowned somebody who is known globally. And everyone wants to have Jibril. I can tell you that. So I have shared platform with Jibril to a lot of international conferences, and sometimes I have goosebumps on my skin whenever Jibril start talking. On when people actually acknowledge his contribution. Sometimes those are moments you feel proud as a Gambian. There are so many moments, but those moments always comes and then you want them to be repeated all the time. Whilst I'm seated here as a diaspora, I know it was also mentioned about diaspora role, especially in politics. Probably, Claire, if you want to give me another 2 minutes just to dwell more on that. But I know Israel has actually done a lot of work in terms of even diaspora voting. I could remember one time in State of Nation, State in the Nation meeting, I chaired a session on diaspora voting with governors of all the regions. And I think they really want to pick me up. Because everyone in that room, except me and Jibril and a few other diasporas, were really advocating for the diaspora voting. Everyone was against us. And I think this is also happening in the Gambia a lot. If the National Assembly can vote against that, there's something wrong. And I think the media also need to take a responsibility in that as well. To start educating people about the importance, not only the remittance we send, but we have a role to play as citizens. If somebody is disenfranchised of not having the right to vote, you cannot participate. I know there's a lot missing. And Jibril, for your information, what the diaspora probably would regard you as a mentor for the money, is now a parliamentarian in Senegal from Spain. But interestingly, they also have a link to the Gambia. The mother is actually in Senegal. So his mother is actually a Gambian. So these are some of the things that we need to actually look into. And I think diaspora engagement, we can talk about that, especially the role of MSDG for the whole day. We cannot exhaust it. But we need to support it. Not only us as recipients to work with groups here, but I think nationally it should be supported as well. To make sure that whatever activity is taking place is actually covered well for people to know what is happening, because it's a great contribution to the development of this country. A lot has been happening, but also that's what contribution needs to be acknowledged in all stages, especially our involvement in politics. Because Jibril has started a lot. and I know he will do the same. But also, he's somebody who is he's not selfish, because the Jibril will also have a plan set to other people, and they will go and do it without telling Jibril. But he always said that if the work is done properly, he'll be very happy with that. So that's the type of party we have. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Jarga design. Say it on the record.
Okay, so we're now inviting Janke from Jarga Design to speak more on her project.
Thank you. All right. Good. What is it now? Afternoon?
Yes.
Good afternoon. Assalamu alaikum. I am honored to be here. Thank you so much. As mentioned, my name is Jankin Jai of Jarga, and I was a part of the second cohort. Some of you probably saw me when I was walking up. I brought my bag with me, and that is very intentional. That is very intentional because we produce handbags here in the Gambia. And one of the reasons why I am able to have my full production facility in the Gambia is because we were a beneficiary of the second cohort with the DDF. So I am born and raised in Oslo, Norway, and I moved here now 6 years ago. My father left Gambia in the mid-70s. So he has lived majority of his life in Norway. And it's very interesting when I sit and speak with him, how he explained that he left with the hope of us, his kids, having opportunities and being able to further our education and go into the creative sector, for example, which I have done. And it is so ironic how I furthered my education and went right back to Gambia.
Yes.
I did not stay in Norway. But my entrepreneurial journey has been interesting. And coming to the Gambia, during this project, I very quickly understood, because my educational background is also within the creative sector and business development. But I understood that for somebody that has been in the fashion industry in Norway, I really wanted to be able to produce in the Gambia without compromising on quality. And that took a lot of work. And that's where the DDF fund came in. So with the help of the fund, I was able to do an assessment with the artisans that are currently here in the Gambia and see if I continue to work here, will I be able to deliver the quality that I want? Because I want people to see the bag and say, oh, it's made in France, it's made in Italy, right? And I can say, no, this one is made in Gambia. So to be able to produce something that can compete on the international level. And the 2 first years, my advice from many people across different sectors was go to Senegal. Go to Senegal, go to Senegal. And I'm not going to shy away from it. For a little bit, I was considering it. But what the fund helped us do was that I was able to have a team here in the Gambia and then fly them in from Senegal to come and do training on the staff here. So that the skill could remain here, the knowledge could remain here, and the production can remain here. And at that point, I believe we were a staff of 6, and we have doubled that number in team today. And we've also been able to produce the first production facility in the Gambia that specializes only on handbags. So it's been a great journey. And it's been very interesting when Uncle Jibril also mentioned when we talk about migration, when we talk about coming home, and we talk about memory. And for somebody that was born and raised in Norway, very integrated in the local community also, my parents made sure that we spoke Wolof before we spoke Norwegian. My mother used to scare me and say, when you go to Gambia, if you don't know the national anthem, they will arrest you. So we would always practice the national anthem before every holiday that we would come in. And that's where the memory started. So even though we were born and raised in Norway, we had a very strong connection to the Gambian culture. And the mosque would not only be a mosque, but also a cultural center where
a gathering of many Gambians would be. We would have visitors, and all of that contributed in different doses to why I am here in the Gambia today with my daughter. And I think a lot of questions has been raised in terms of why would you leave Norway to come back and stay here in the Gambia? And the question is the opposite for me. Why would I not? I think that I am so excited for what Gambia's future will look like, and I am eager to be able to contribute to that development. Now, I think that the development is across different sectors. My sector would be the creative one. So we are working and doing all that we can to continue to do that. What we've also done with the brand Jarga is that we've been able to translate Gambian culture through these products. So just the name of the brand Jarga comes from my family heritage, which is Njai Jarga in Salum. But this bag that you see, for example, is called the Naba bag, named after Jena Banyang Jai from GRTS, who maybe many of the journalists will remember. So it's very interesting how we can also be able to commercialize our culture. Because I think that in this day and age, when it comes to Africa, whether it is sports or it is music or it is fashion, I think our culture is the biggest export. I think that we are exporting culture more than anything else. And when we speak of the fashion sector, I do think that Africa has come a long way. But unfortunately, we still speak of Nigeria and Ghana and Senegal, and Gambia hasn't fully entered that conversation. But that's why I'm here, to make sure that we can enter that conversation and be a part of putting Gambia within the creative sector internationally. So I am extremely grateful. This was the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey here in the Gambia through MSDG. And I can honestly also say that it didn't stop after we received the funds. And I think it's a key factor. Because very often you receive the funds and then you do what you're supposed to do, you send in a report, and then that's it. And that's not been the situation in my case. I think till this day, Mr. Sidibe, I bombard with our catalogs all the time. And if it's the yearly conferences as well. And Uncle Fal took the time to also come and visit our production facility and see the bags in person. And although you would think that after making all the choices of coming here with my daughter at 7 months old, moving to the Gambia, setting up a production facility, hiring and all of that, I am very hopeful and deep believe in the brand and what we are creating, which is true. But it also further the commitment and gave me a confirmation of that I am on the right place when we receive this funding. Because it gives outside validation that we see what you're doing and we also believe in it. And although, you know, your own validation is the most, but I think it also had an impact on me to receive that validation from professionals who's done this before. And I can say that the very first bag that Jarga sold was to Catherine, Ford.
That's the K in GK Partners.
Yes, that's the K in GK Partners. So just to further confirm that the support has been deep, and it's followed us till this day. So I am forever grateful, not only for the DDF Fund, but for the entire team and the support, Claire, everyone. It's been a great journey, and I believe that this is not the end. This is only the beginning, and many more to come. So congratulations on everything. Thank you for everything. Good luck, and I am excited to take this journey with you guys ahead.
Thank you so much, NK. Now that we have heard from Jarga, we'll invite Venerable Thomas from Fajara Skill Center.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm Jean Abel Thomas, and I have been running a skill center which started in 1999 at Fajara. Then we were renting throughout. And when this government came in, we had to go and talk to him so that we can get a plot of land, which they helped us. Why am I doing skills? This thing happened when I was in Newcastle upon time studying, and I had friends who would send letters in those days. Can you send me £10? Can you send me £5? And I didn't have it, but I wanted to help them. And it happens that it was something that really bugged me. I decided, okay, when I go to the Gambia, I'll have a skill center so that they don't have to beg. They can have work to do and help themselves. That's how I came about Fajara Skills Development Center. When I came, with the little I had, I put up a building in Fajara. The building was not something that I planned because I didn't own any property before I left. But when I came back, my stepmother, and it happens to be so emotional about what I wanted to do, and said, okay, take that plot of land and do something. That's how I was able to construct the Fajara Skills Center in Fajara. Funny enough, Victoria is here, who's the granddaughter to my stepmom.
Wow.
It's a funny word. Now, we started the skills center. We started with 6 students from NYSS. I don't know if you know, National Youth Service Scheme, because God bless her soul, Aminata Fal Sonko, she said she was one of the ministers and said, Jean, why don't you open your own place? And I said, how can I? She said, go after it. We'll support you. And that's how I decided to open the skills center in Fajara. She was the person that motivated me, to really go after it, which happened. And they sent me 6 students. That was the first lot I had. And gradually, I started having more and more students until the place was full. NACA had to tell me to, leave the place because the premises was too small to contain the students. Then I went to Atlantic Boulevard, Fujara. We were there. Unfortunately, the landlady passed away and the kids wanted to enhance their building. Before then, President Barrow came on board. And I went there with students and he said, are they owing you? I said, no, they're not. He said, what do you want? We're just looking for a plot of land to build our school. He said, is that so? And that's it. Within 3 weeks, I was called and we were given this land. Unfortunately, the COVID came and everything just went down. I even spoke to Madame Sonko at one time. She said, no, we cannot have private institutions. And I said, okay. The head of state intervened because things were really tough. But for now, we look at it, without the intervention of people like the MSDG, what would have been our case? Because we are training young people to acquire skills. And what are those skills? Hairdressing and beauty, fashion design and sewing, cookery and pastry. And as I sit here, it's a matter of going to hotels or some of the sewing centers. I have ex-students who are making it great in this country. Not everybody can go to the university because at the end of the day, you're going to look for a job. But with the skills, you can sit at home and do your work. Once it's good, people will find you, locate you for services. So I always encourage young people, because if you look at it in this country, or let me say, the girl child is not that important. It is the male child that is important in the home. And they will say, no, let's train the male child. At the end of the day, what happens to the girl child? I get emotional when I talk about this. But these are girls that have potential. Because they're not doing well in maths doesn't mean they're stupid. Nobody is stupid, because that's what I hear parents say, and it hurts me. I stand to defend them. I said they might not be a doctor, but they can be a good seamstress or a good chef one day. And this is what has happened throughout the years. There are people that always come back and say, Auntie, thank you for what we have learned. This is what is taking us through. Some have left through the back way. They've gone abroad. But because they have a skill, they're able to generate income. All said and done, we are most grateful to the MSDG for the help they rendered at that time, because it was a crucial moment. Presently, country, parents want to make sure their children, but because they don't have the financial capability, it is a stumbling block. Most of them, we try to encourage them to have like scholarships. And this is what we did. We chose the students who really needed it and gave them this opportunity. I would not say without MSDG, we wouldn't be here, but they have really helped a great deal. We've partnered with them. I don't know how come we were lucky to be part of the program.
You were good.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And looking back over the years, we have so many ladies that have set up skill centers, but where are they? They've closed down because they said, gee, this is not profitable. I said, oh, if you're looking for profit, you go to the hotel, you're in the hotel. But if you're looking to empower young people, you have the empathy to see them stand, then this is not your business. So they close down. Anytime they see me, Yancy call. I said, yes, Beboba. It is a joy for me to see them come. Naive, not knowing their right from their left, counseling them, giving them the basic entrepreneurship skills, language, English language, maths. You know, at the end of the day, they're graduating. You find them with so much confidence. You tell them this, they want to tell you that they know more than you. This is the joy. For me, this is what I am looking at. It's not the profit. It's how you can enhance somebody's life. And I say thank you once again to this organization for putting us on your roadmap to where we are. And I cannot say Abaka, Jerejef, thank you more than this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And from Fajara Skills Center, we go straight to the crucible crew, and we will now hear from it. And just to note, after we hear from Musa, of course, we will invite questions before we introduce some of our new fellows to also speak on their projects. We'll just invite 2 of the new fellows after we take in questions.
Thank you so much. My name is Musa Drame. It's wonderful to be here today. Kusik Gambia have been here for the past 7 years now. And then before I go further, I remember when Mr. Falcon office and then trying to introduce myself of what Kusik Gambia is doing in the Gambia. And I can remember he was telling me, if you don't need to convince me, I'm already convinced what's happening. So I started this journey in 2013 when I was just 24 years old. And I started working for Norwegian Coast Line for 9 years. And I look at it every embarkation when I see people coming from the Philippines, India, Caribbeans. I say to myself, I mean, Gambia, when it comes to hospitality, we are one of the best in the industry, and then we can be able to do well. So I'm talking to you today, we took 700 Gambians into the vision. And then when he passed by to my office, and then some of the challenges we talk about, and then he was so generous, to partner with us and sponsor more than 60-something youths to be trained in our office so that they can get jobs on the cruise ship. So thank you, Professor Bal and MSDG for that initiative. And we have a lot of positions that are coming for cruise ship jobs because cruise ship industry is growing every day. Not only recruitment, but we want even the cruise ships to come to Gambia because that is good for our tourism and it's very sustainable. It's not just 2 months, 6 months, it's year round. And when they are coming to Gambia, they are not coming with 200 people, they are coming with 2,000 or 500 or 600 people. So this is very good for our economy when it comes to local vendors and tour operators, local market is good for everybody. So we're working with different cruise lines. Norwegian Cruise Lines, Silverseas, Asamaris, Royal Caribbean. These are one of the biggest cruise lines in the world. And they want to give 5,000 jobs every year for Gambians. We find our challenges and we're working on that. When it comes to absconding, you give the opportunity to the youths. Sometimes they may not come back, but these are challenges that we're facing. But I always say to people, absconding may delay us, but can never stop us. So, and then I always tell people like I've been in the US for 9 years. After this, and when I decide to come back to Gambia, I'm not going anywhere. I'm still here, and I'm going to make sure that we work on this to promote this job so that young Gambians can go and work for 6 months and come back to Gambia. Almost everything on board is free. Accommodation is free, food is free. The cruise line pay for their flight ticket return. So almost all the money they are making, they bring it back to the Gambia. So, and I'm glad that you have a training center that you are training youths for concrete positions and tailoring and all those. These are positions that are on the ship.
I have my students working
on the cruise ship. That's good. That's good. Oh, James is one of our best crew, and he's still working, never abscond. I know Macklin.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I can go on.
So I'm not lying, huh? Yeah. So, well, I'm always proud sometimes when I go to places and people are stopping me, hey, you help my brother, my sister is there. And this is what I want to hear. This is what I want to see our youths. And sometimes we go around, not only people who have that opportunity to be trained, but there are people that are out there that when we train them, the initiative that he brought, like sponsoring those people, they can also do better instead of being on the street, smoking or doing something that is negative. And thank you so much for giving those that opportunity. And then we hope that more is coming so that we can train more people to be able to take this job. And then us as an agency, we are pushing a lot with different cruise line so that they can employ more Gambians because Gambia have a lot of advantage. We are one of the best in the industry. And I think we can all attest to that. When it comes to hospitality, almost every month I have an employee of the month that is Gambians. So we have the negative part. I said people are funded, but the people that are there are one of the best. We have about 52 people on vacation at the moment that are giving back to their society. Also some of them are even going back to their former hotels and train them of the new skills they learn. So it's a great opportunity, and then anybody who has a qualification, it's open for Gambians, and the application is free. I always make sure I emphasize that in any of my when I get the opportunity to do so. The recruitment is free. We are not charging anybody to pay anything. We do not go through any agency. We don't have no third party. They have to come directly and apply for the job for free. Even when they are doing the training, when they get the opportunity, we tell them someone paid this training fees. And when you finish that, when you're coming to apply this job, it's absolutely free. You don't have to pay for anything. So thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'm glad to be here. Hope together we can change this country. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Drame. Now that we have already had a background on the Diaspora Development Fund, and we have also had from some of our old fellows from the second cohort, we now invite questions from the floor, the media, anyone. Yes, please. Okay.
Thank you very much. My name is Salif Ba. I represent a platform called ICO Petro Limited. It's a Gambian-based institute doing investment advisory, consultancy, and capacity building. We came across this group from two of our directors are diaspora. One of them was one of the first speaker, I think 2 years ago, Ibrahim Sawale, in your state representation event. The other one worked with Ecobank Group as a group CFO. So why I'm here, I'm very excited. I'm not a diaspora. Studied in the Gambia, worked in the Gambia, and still live in the Gambia, live in the Gambian dream like any other person. It's good to bring that perspective as well for the locals, because Prof mentioned one important thing is with the local partners. And that is why we're here as well as a local partner, carrying people into the entrepreneurship journey. Sustainability becomes very key. And here we are as partners to help the sustainability aspect of this. From investment advisory, what we do. There are local regulations that we need to comply investor for investing. And one thing that I find interesting with some diaspora is the small money that they have that they want to invest back in the country. How secure is the investment? Meaning the structured financing. This is where our engagement was to play. A couple of weeks ago, we have a CFO conference that we have, where stakeholders from government, private sector were there to discuss some of the structured financing. So hearing people on investment, financial reporting was very key. They have looked at the project, and people of numbers have seen more than $500 billion invested either directly or indirectly. That's not small money. From 2017 to 2024. But do we really see the impact is already presented there? And this is what the diasporans are contributing to the Gambian economy. What I'm proposing today here is to tell you those in the investment for entrepreneurship journey, we will partner with them to offer free financial basic training. We're helping small businesses in countries. So from 2 years ago, manage their books, and today from a $30 million to $60 million that they're doing. So we're happy. We'll engage with Prof after this. We've been engaging with him on different things, but we'll engage with him, and we are happy to have a conversation because we have a local experts as well. And as much as you're coming with the diaspora knowledge, you need to integrate with the locals with enhance this. So we're happy to join here, Prof. Thank you so much.
Let me check. We also, amongst the new partners, is also a government department. I don't know whether, Mr. Davo, you may want to say something. we're working on a new partnership with the National Records Office. Please, yeah. No.
Yeah, good afternoon. I work with the National Record Service. You may want to know the National Record Service was established by the Act of Parliament to manage public records from creation to destruction or permanent preservation as archives. So we work with the National Record Service. At the National Record Service, we have a unit called the National Archives, where I work. National Archives keeps records that are kept for permanent preservation due to their ongoing value. The value may be historical, maybe financial, legal, and all those things. So, but those records are now fading away due to a long period, because since 18th century, those records are there, and they are fading away due to their long historical records. So this is why we partner with DDF, Professor Simon, so that we can have those records rescued to have preserved. Yeah.
Are there any other questions, contributions?
Good afternoon to all, and thank you for inviting us as returnees. I'm really impressed with all what has been said and everything. And we're here, as we'd like you to know that we're here as well with skills. And as we return home, I've been living in London, born in Jamaica, but I went to the UK as a child in 1974, and I've been living there for 50 years. I've been to different parts, different countries. I traveled a few different African countries, and I had to make a decision where my heart lies, and my heart lies in Gambia. And so I decided to stay in Gambia. Now, there is a lot of us here, and we've got skills to offer. I taught in the Bakay President Awards Center for 1 year. I've been teaching for over 25 years. I'm a qualified designer, and I work with City and Guilds in London in different colleges. I went to university, and after university, I finished, and I'm still searching to give my skills here. So what I'm saying is that there's a lot of us here, and sometimes we feel that we're not included and we're wasted. And a lot of us are here with so many skills that you could use on the ground, but you don't know. So I'm going to have at the end of the year an award for African Diaspora Investment Award. And we hope to see a few faces there, and that you can get to know us and know what we're there. As we say, African Diaspora Award, we're not only mean in Caribbean. There's an award going to be given to Gambian diasporas as well. So it's good to know a lot of things that we're doing there. I also, in 2018, bought 3 machines to build stabilized earth blocks. I'm also trained to build the blocks, believe it or not. And we've trained a lot of people here, a lot of youths here, and give them an apprenticeship of how to build the eco blocks. When I came with the idea and brought 3 machines here, there was hardly any buildings being built with the stabilized earth blocks. So this is one of the things that we're doing, and now we are finishing my first project where we are at roof level now. So that's one of my friend's house that we built. In saying that, we would like to be included and to be thought of as can contribute. And we're hoping that there's a space in your organization to work with us, because at the end of the day, we are still doing the work and working for Gambia, with Gambian people, with Gambian children,
But we find sometimes we're out of pocket trying to use our resources, trying to also survive here, trying to build, trying to pay our rents over our head, and still trying to make sure that we leave the West and sort ourselves out properly to be here. So there's no one to help us. So I feel like sometimes, you know, I've been told that we need education in certain things and that to be educated. There's a lot of people here that this sister beside me, she's written 6 books, black books. She's got books on Amazon, not being watered or whitewashed. The truth about African history. We've got a library that we're setting up, and we just want black books in the library. We've got school with autistic children and disability. So it's still good to know what we're doing and see if you can partner with and use our skills as well. Because as I say, I'm a teacher in design and technology, and I do know from seeing the stars and the cut that in Gambia you could use some help with training the students how to design and how to cut, especially in bespoke tailoring. I also teach city and the visual studies, which is something I don't know if you're familiar with, but that's a different course that we give the students ideas of how to become designers, whether you want to branch off into furniture or engineer or design, what is the concept of being able to take what you have around you in the Gambia and design, make something of it, which it could be all around your environment. Just teach them how to use the skills that they've got. So we've got something to offer, and I hope that you would consider us as being your partner, because we come to give, we didn't come to take away. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No, we can go to print.
If there are no questions, we will just proceed to the new set of PDF fellows, but we will hear from 2, first from Bintuan and then followed by Ibrahima migrant situation. So Bintuan is actually from Queen Farms and then to Ibrahima. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. When Professor Fall and Mr. Bahun were meeting in United Kingdom, I was doing my O-levels in Banjul.
You're exposing our age.
Yep. My name is Bintu Ann. I'm like Madam Jai. I'm a walking billboard. I am Queen Farms. And it's the first time meeting Professor Fall, although I've been bothering on the phone. I'm really grateful for everything he's doing. DDF came in with a timely intervention. This happened after losing a lot of hectares of crops due to the extreme heat. I've lived in Sweden for over 3 decades, came back to the Gambia last year. Why leave Sweden for Gambia? This is home. And it's the most beautiful country on planet Earth. I can't change it for anything. So what does Queen Farms do? I believe in youth empowerment. I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, I'll tell everybody. Coming from a technical industry into agriculture, they go hand in hand. But what's really important to me is I grew up, or I went to school in the 70s and 80s when all schools had school gardens. And unfortunately, that's something I'm not seeing today. Yeah. I've had my first farm in North Bank, and my second farm is in Sierra North. And trying to engage them in what I'm doing. And today I'm building a new one in West Coast that is my home in the Phoenix. And I would really have to have a lot of youths on that project. And the food security, that's what it comes down to. This is why I'm in the Gambia. We eat, a single human being eats 1,095 times per year. We have almost 3 million people in the Gambia. Do your multiplication. How many of those are Gambians feeding today? Food is coming from outside. We are actually contributing only 6% of what we are eating in this country. And that's really scary. So this is why I'm into agriculture. And I believe in one thing too, that is sustainability. We can't just go into agriculture and pollute our soils and our drinking waters just because we're making a buck out of it. We need to do it with a good conscience, and that means being very sustainable. Think of sustainable practices, use fertilizers, use less of pesticides and insecticides, do the work that is supposed to be done to produce good food. And then reclaiming our markets. We have a lot coming from neighboring countries. I don't have a problem with that. Gambia is part of the ECOWAS fair trade, but we are not trading anything outside Gambia when it comes to agriculture. So those are some of the things that I want to work towards. We having vegetables all year round, doing it in a sustainable way, and teaching our children how important it is to have agriculture as part of our day-to-day lives. They need to understand farming is not a common job. And thank you to Professor Fal, Mr. Siribe, and I can't say enough thank you to Mr. Jabi, although we have a problem in here about the food thing. Yeah. But I am here because they believe in me. I am here because they reached out, and I think, I hope this is like a starting of a long, or as I said, seasons ahead of a good partnership and a good collaboration between every farmer and DDF. Thank you all.
Thank you, Bintu. Thank you, Queen Farm. So now we hear from Ibrahima, migrant situation, and then we'll have the conclusion.
Hey, good afternoon. Thank you, everyone. I'm happy to be here as we sit. My name is Ibrahim Ibrahim, but each and everyone know me as Ibrahim Migrant Citizen. As we all know, at the moment in Gambia here, what we have now is more than coronavirus in 2019. When it comes to migration matter Gambia, for me, it is more worse than the corona time. I know in the corona, governments, other international communities, people spend millions of money on corona. But now what we have in Gambia here, for me, as I was saying, is more than corona. As I was speaking at the moment, just this 1 month past, we have like 3,771 people live this soil here in Gambia with 21 different migrant boats for Canary Island. And all those boats, those 21 boats, none of them has been reached. Many have been intercepted in Morocco, Mauritania, Senegal, and the cause was bad weather, too much wave. The boats are not good. These are the main problems, challenges, or they have like the bad engines. We have lots of things that are happening this year. And within this 1 month, we have like 26 Gambians who lost their life during this past week. So we cannot continue like that. So in 1 month, 26 Gambians lost their life. So we calculate now before the end of year, how many people are we going to have? In 2014, we have 1,600 Gambians lost their life. In 2025, we have like nearly 900 lost their life. So these are not only numbers. These are human beings. They have families. I live in Malta. I go through Bagway as myself. I ask whatever is happening in this journey, nobody told me. I go by myself. I see everything by myself. I take this migrant activist to do because what I have been going through, or what other sub-Saharan Africans going through Libya, Tunisia. I think today, before I came here, I was posting something. They just killed someone today, not a Gambian, but an Ivorian. So these are things in Tunisia today, Libya, it's getting worse every day. And Gambians now, people are living this country, not before. When you check some years back, it's only men who are going, young boys. But this 1 month alone, we have more than 1,000 women living in this country. These are not only Gambians, but many other sub-Saharan countries who come to this country as a hotspot to live this country and God. And we have more than 600 children who live. At this moment as I'm speaking today, there was a boat missing from Kato, around Kato in Jaffa, around Casamas. Today is 14 days. Nobody knows who is where they are. And we all know that 14 days nobody will survive. But we are trying to communicate with the alarm phones, with the maritime in Spain. We're doing all our best to see what we can do. There's another boat that departed from Alabama. Today is 7 days. We don't hear any information. 3 days ago, there's another boat that departed from Forney Belfast. So in Gambia here, things people have just gone. That's why I said migration in the Gambia now is more than coronavirus for me. So for having this opportunity, what we want to do here for us, those who are, because in the Gambia here, we all know people are gone, but in the European Union, they don't want migrants now. They want skilled workers. And Gambia here, those who are migrants who are going, many are not skilled workers. Last year alone, we have more than 1,700 Gambians who have been deported from Europe. They are still here, sitting, they're doing nothing. They don't even have integration system. Here in the Gambia, we have a zero policy of integration. Many of these boys are here smoking in the street. Some are even getting mad because they lose everything. Nobody is there to talk to them. Nobody is there to look for them, and nobody is there to hear what they are saying. So for us, what we want to do, those are the people who are coming back. What can we do? What can we do together? Not for them, but also with their families. For me, when I leave this place, I go to any family. Some parents, when I meet them, when they are welcome me, they welcome me with crying because I have been calling them and tell them, oh, your son has died or your daughter has died. So that memory lives with them forever. So when I even go and visit them, when they see me, they know this is the one who told me my daughter died. They don't feel happy. There is no day I feel happy for myself. If I feel happy like 1 minute, now I tell, okay, the boats are arrived safely. But I will be there some minutes, someone will call me. I just get information. They tell me my son doesn't make it. So it's always a problem in the Gambia. So, and the people here and the migrant boats who are departed in the Gambia, as I was saying, many missing. Sometimes even they intercept boats. You will see many boats they can intercept, but there are a lot of people who will be missing. Now we can know, okay, boats leave from, because even yesterday they intercepted a boat in Mukene from Banjul. So, but that boat, today I get the information that there are still 8 people who died in that boat. So what we are trying to do now to identify those people, who are those 8 people? Because else their parents will be here, okay, my son has so better take the boat from here, now he died, but we didn't know where it is. But the boat is intercepted, yes, we know it. But who are the people who died? So we need to try and verify these missing people, to give information back to their families members. Even they mourn forever, yes. But them to know this is what is happening to my children, or this is not. Because this bad way is a problem. To stop it's not, that's not a way. I don't think so we can do that. But we can minimize it. For us, the things we want to do now is sensitization. Going by campaign to campaign. I went around, I told them, what you people, what we are doing, it's not going to change anything in this country. We go to the hotel, we bring drinks and cool waters, air conditioning, we talk in back where it is. No, it will not stop. The people who are going, you need to go and follow those people back into their rooms. Talk to them directly. This is the danger. I have a team who I go with them. Some are migrants, we are all migrants, but some are successful migrants who come just for holidays. I try to go with these people so that they can tell their story. And I go with people who were being deported. Yesterday, I said migrants who were deported more than 150 from Kenya. and 150 also who deported from Libya. So I try to go with all these migrants just to tell their stories, people to hear what is happening. Because migration is not only in Gambia, but in general in Sub-Saharan Africa, we have a problem with this. And it's going to be very difficult to stop it. But what we can do to tell people to know this is the risky, and this is what and what when you go through like this is what you really can face. And even you arrive in Europe today, we all know how migration situation is in Europe now. So I'm taking more time though, but thank you, Mr. Fat, and thank you for the media. Mr. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ibrahima, and
You can move there.
we can. I know the serious and the jewelers are hungry, but we will just hear the concluding remarks from Professor Far, and that will be it for today.
What did you say about thank you so much to everyone, and it was a pleasure hearing this. And of course, some of the stories I'm hearing for the first time, because we know within MSDG that although we do a bit of monitoring and evaluation, but we know that the impact is beyond what we can measure. But that goes to the fundamental approach. You see, many years ago, theories were developed as to how to improve impact, especially the linkage between development and philanthropy. And then some people thought it's actually, in the 70s, this was considered crazy. The idea is, well, just give money cash and leave them. Just leave them, give them cash. And people say, well, that's crazy. But if that person is, now we have the phrase, an actual or potential change maker, it is in them that they would do it. If you don't help it, they'll still try to do good. So just give them the money. So this was floating around until you have an organization called Ashoka. Ashoka, I think, was the first globally to structure giving around the idea of a change maker. And they said, well, we've checked, we think this is an actual or potential change maker. I just give you unrestricted funds and see what you do. And that, we've inculcated that sort of approach. In the UK, when we got flushed with philanthropic money, when we introduced national lottery in the 90s, was it? John Major's government introduced national lottery. And suddenly the government was getting a huge pot of money from the national lottery to give out as grants. And the millennium was coming, the end of the 20th century. And someone has the brilliant idea and say, why don't we do something big as this? And then 100 million was endowed to be a new fund. And they had this Millennium Development Fund. And the idea was give £5,000 to potential change makers. And I had the good fortune at the time, my consultancy, to support many of them. And I met these people. It's just crazy what humans can do with small things. There's still one story of one guy I remember meeting. He was involved in training children to ride bicycles safely in the streets. That's what they do. Because riding a bicycle is an important ritual if you grow up anywhere, especially in the West. But the streets are dangerous in Europe, so how to ride safely? That's what he did. So we helped him structure a whole business around it. And suddenly it became a successful business. Municipalities were contracting him to train children in the area. So it's successful. So one day I visited their office and I asked of him, because he was the general manager. They said, oh, he left. He handed over the leadership of the organization. I said, why? Why would he do that? It's succeeding. But he left because it succeeded. And I said, so what are you going to do? He said, well, I'm going to go do what I really wanted to do. And he went up to Edinburgh to do a PhD in nuclear physics. That's really what he wanted to do. But he's a change maker. Yeah. So here you can see the stories we hear from our fellows, that the stuff they're doing that's motivating them. So that's what we're trying to do. Find actual and potential change makers and give just a little bit. So we're very pleased to have the new cohort. I think Khadija Tujalo is one of our cohorts. She was around here. You've seen what Ibrahima is doing. By the way, this funding is funded by IOM. So they did listen to you. So we're using their money. We're using their money to do that. But in these difficult things, you have to have different approaches to do it. And I encourage everyone in the media to look at the fellows and go do stories on them, both the 54 and the new 11. Please go find out what they're doing. You will be helping us as well because we also don't have the resources to monitor. In fact, even if I have it, I won't spend it on trying to find out what you're doing. Yeah, I'll the new minkers. Yeah, new fellows from is extremely important. You can see if you look at these fellows, they are all stars in a way. And our engagement with them is also, we want them to also help us. That's why we don't leave them alone, because by themselves they're stars and we can benefit from them. But also we're learning from them. We ask to assist us, to talk to people, to give advice. And yes, when you join, you won't escape. Yeah, it's a straightforward deal. Yeah, and the partners, if you look at them, Sawane and his partner here is here, Salifu. Sawane is a banker, finance expert. He was our diaspora keynote speaker a few years ago. He's a star out there in the world. You know, he was in Nigeria. He was decorated with one of the highest honors in Ivory Coast because he brought huge infrastructure. You know, if you hear the sorts of money they deal with, you know, your eyes water. Huge sums. That's what they're doing. The stuff that Gambian's economy cannot handle. That's the sort of stuff. And we are also honored and privileged to have these people as fellows wanting to associate with us and do this great work. And the cultural part is very important. Jog Malik, amongst the stuff he did is you may have seen the videos about lullabies. So we did a collection research of Gambian lullabies, different languages, worked with police band to record it, and you can find it on our website. Not only recorded, they have been notated. So for the first time ever, African Gambian lullabies are written as music. And we've taken it to schools in England, not for Gambian or African kids, for all kids. So they can read the music and play Sona Mariam. That's what they do. And many other things around that. Because what we found there is some of the children in the diaspora, for all of the cultural reasons and racism, sometimes they are a little bit ashamed of their African background and culture. So they would even resist speaking the language. So if you then do this thing to push it on them, it won't work. So what you do, in this case, the lullabies is at the school. Everyone is learning the music. So suddenly the kids are jostling to say, oh, this is my language. So it's not like they're jumping away because this is the song that everybody is singing. So I think the cultural element is important. And lastly, just again, coming back to the wider sense of the African and Gambia diaspora, is we are definitely committed to it and we'll take more practical steps. My first sort of civil society engagement in UK, January of 1988. I've been in England for 4 months. Started what became a Black study group, and it was called Natange, the Natange Black Study Group. And it was focused on the history of African people before slavery. So anytime slavery, we're not touching it, that's too recent. So that was the period we were looking for data on African presence in early Britain, African presence in early Europe, Ivan van Sertima stuff. They came before Columbus, all of that stuff. And so we used to invite them from the state, the scholars. Every Thursday evening for 9 years, I was a volunteer at the youth club at Pedro in Hackney to do the Black Studies group. So that history and culture is important because some of the insecurities that we find amongst ourselves is because we think we come from nothing. No, we come from great stuff. We have had, even the bad times we've had, the fact that African people, Gambian people have survived it, the mind boggles that we even survive it and thrive and create wonderful cultures about it that we then gift to the whole world. So that in essence is the approach we use. Invest in change makers, a sense of partnership and commitment, a sense of generosity, a sense of focus on the solution. People used to tease me because I became very predictable that before the conversation ends, I would say, let's focus on the solution. But you know what? It's, please believe me and follow my advice. It is good for our health. When you start negative stuff, it is proven the neurology of your whole body is bringing the negative stuff. But for that short term, it's actually enjoyable. It's a rush. Sometimes when you are angry, you want to be angry. But count yourself out quickly and get onto the focus. And it's by magic, however big the problem is, focus on the solution, find the partner. And again, don't say because the partners are not from my social class, I don't know them. We would learn a lot. So that's why you see the diversity developing. Our fellows, we have a professor from an Ivy League university, to a master drummer. That's the sort of range we have. Each one of them doing wonderful things. So I also take the opportunity to thank the staff. And second fellow, I see the maternal blood bank. Amijajus people are here in the house. And yes, thank you so much. And are you sure you have lunch for us?
Yes.
Yes, yes, indeed. And are we dismissed? So it is officially closed. Thank you so much.